on to my presentation on multilingualism and academic performance. So, some reasons why I chose this topic is because I speak 3 languages myself, those being Norwegian, English and Spanish, so that made me interested in doing a project on multilingualism. When I was younger, my parents were told that I'd do badly at school because I spoke 2 different languages at home, so I wouldn't compete with my other peers as well. However, in my research, I found this opinion had changed, and my research showed that multilingual people might actually have an advantage academically. So the sociological context of this study, meaning how multilingualism is accepted in society and how it's dealt with in society. So historically, children who spoke another language at home were thought to be best off being immersed into English. So they were put in a class with English pupils and English teachers and just taught the same way as everyone else was taught. Many reasons for this. It was thought to be a good way of assimilating children of immigrants into British society. It was aimed to give children with English as a second language the same opportunities as native English people. However, recently there's been more debate in relation to the importance of supporting multilingualism for both social and scientific reasons. So carrying on with the social context, a recent headline on the 16th of February stated children in schools across the Black Country in Staffordshire who speak English as a second language outperformed native speakers in last year's GCSEs. And Itesh Shafshev, Professor of Languages and Communication at the School of Oriental and African Studies, believes more than 50% of the Asian community are maintaining their mother tongue. She said South Asian languages were simply not valued as much as UK and European language. Her quote is, "It's quite natural for people to say our languages don't have a value if they don't have value in curriculum, the educational systems of this country." So it's been proved scientifically that multilingualism does benefit you. However, 50% of the Asian community still believe that multilingualism might not benefit, especially when their languages aren't valued in the curriculum. So my research question is, are there any differences in academic achievement of multilingual students compared to monolingual students, and how can these be explained? So the definition of multilingualism is the use of 2 or more languages either by an individual speaker or by a community of speakers. So this is how I did it, the method. So to start, I decided on how many pupils I was going to test. Because of the time I had, I only did 2 fast-track Year 9 classes, and that consisted of 64 pupils, 36 boys and 28 girls. I handed out a question asking whether they spoke another language or not, and 14 pupils, 3 girls and 11 boys considered themselves to be multilingual, whereas 50 pupils, 25 girls and 25 boys considered themselves to be monolingual. So collecting my data, I used my coordinator's computer, and I accessed a program called Formatrix, which was a good program because it laid out levels in a table, so I could look at the subject, and then it had the levels at the top, so then I could see 24 pupils achieved 6A in English. So then it didn't take as long as I thought it would take. So the validity of my statistical data, I didn't test on gender differences, which might have had an effect, but in my opinion and based on other research I've done, it is unlikely. It was a very small sample, and it does only describe tendencies at Holyfield School, so it can't be generalised. And I didn't actually have the opportunity to test how well each student spoke the language, so that might have also had an effect on my results. But I I will argue that the data is still valid in order to describe tendencies at Holyfield School, and the results are supported by other relevant research. So, my research ethics, it was important that I made sure everyone was anonymous, so I didn't say what level they got for each subject. And so I handed out an informed consent form, which made sure all participants knew that they were taking part in this study, and so they agreed to sign to being in my project, and so that then it ensured that research was done according to ethical standards. Here's my consent form. It shows that what the study is about, and it says that they will be completely anonymous in my project. And here are my results. So in English, multilingual students did perform slightly worse. However, in maths and science, the more logical subjects, multilingual students did perform better. In geography and history, I wasn't really sure what would happen there, but it was equal. And in music, which I did as an extension, as I had found an article related with music and multilingualism, multilingual students did perform better too. So some other examples of research that support my results. Some professors and researchers from Cambridge University said research shows that children who speak more than one language are multiply advantaged over their monolingual playmates in communication, cognition, and social interaction. Yet a perception among some parents and teachers is growing up multilingual is not only fraught with challenges, but may even risk to educational development. And as I said, this is the article on music. Both music and bilingualism improves executive functioning, a study by Beistock and Depat. Executive functioning is an umbrella term for management of cognitive processes, including working memory, reasoning, task flexibility, and problem solving, as well as planning and execution. So these are all logical skills, so they back up my results in saying maths and science. For maths and science, multilingual students did perform better, but however still, there is a thought that multilingualism does have disadvantages in parents and other teachers. So my conclusion, in logical subjects, my results support existing research which argues multilingualism has a positive effect on academic achievement. In English, my results show that multilingual students perform slightly worse, which may suggest there's room for improvement in the English taught to this group of students. The historical tendency to look negatively at multilingualism in relation to academic achievement still seems quite strong in our society today, despite a large body of research providing its positive effects. My reflection, I would ask, should multilingualism be encouraged and supported in school? And what kind of support would it be? Would it be the immersion that has been used before, or would it be targeted support where they target an individual and help them in that way? And from further studies, I would do further research in Holyfield School with a bigger sample and more interviews with parents and multilingual students about their experiences. So those are my references. Thank you for listening to any questions.
Do you think it would have affected your results, your findings, if you had done it across the year group rather than just concentrating on the two fast-track classes?
I mean, it would have been different because the fast-track classes have better levels in that case. So if there were more multilingual students in the fast-track classes, then, or more monolingual students in the fast-track classes, then of course there would be a difference because fast-track do perform better than express.
Very interesting, mate. I found when you're talking about Asian countries, I found that quite interesting. Being from Australia, we have a lot of Asian immigrants there, and I can see an Asian language compared to a European language is more, in some cases, more symbols and more writing symbols opposed to words. So it's very hard for them sometimes to adapt to English. I'm wondering, you're saying that some people think it's a bad thing. At what age or at what stage in your learning of the second language, whether it be English or whatever, do you reckon it becomes less of a burden? So, for example, I teach some students who struggle with their comprehension and articulation in English, because that's their second language. Do you reckon it becomes a stage where it becomes a benefit?
Yeah, well, when they're younger, it's usually better to influence multilingualism because they start at that level, and it's better for the brain because then it's more natural. But if they're coming in from like the age of 8+, it's a completely new language, so it's harder to fit in, and it may have an effect academically.
Yeah, and that sort of showed your English results, didn't it? That they weren't quite coping with that.
That might be because of the students that came in later on.
Yep.
When did you start learning English, Robin?
So, well, I've been here most of my life, so...
So you have actually grown up with 3 languages?
3 languages, yeah. But
You haven't had to acquire one
so
beyond the age of 8?
No, so I was taught those 3 languages at the same age, and my teachers didn't want me to speak Norwegian and Spanish because they thought it wouldn't help me as I grew up, and I'd just not do well. And as well, when I was younger, I wasn't as good at English, so I put in worse classes, so then I wasn't able to improve as much as other students. But then it soon, gradually I improved, and I got to the same level as everyone else.
I've got 2 more questions for you, mate. Sorry, I find this quite interesting. Did you find anything about which language to be multilingual was better? So, you know, French and Spanish are very common in Western Europe. If you go
They use the same alphabet.
yeah, if you go towards Eastern Europe, it changes a bit more. Did you find a difference with that, or any literature on that?
No, because I collected the data, I wasn't really looking at what languages
Yeah,
they actually
okay,
did.
yeah.
You're just looking for the general trend.
Yeah, yeah, okay. And my final one is, and this is a bit, once again, you might not have looked at this, is why does it make them better performers?
Well, it seems to like connect your brain in a different way because you have more links, because languages, it makes you think in different ways. So it seems that in the more logical skills that it strengthens those connections and therefore improves your maths and science.
Cool. You ladies got any questions? Yes?
No, I've always been jealous of Robin for his multilingualism.
All right, buddy.
Thank you.
Well done.